So, greetings. The first thing to say is I do appreciate all the views, the likes, the new subscriptions on the channel. Due to the uninstalling Starfield video, uh, it is. It's not ironic. It is bittersweet. There you go. We'll say bittersweet. It is bittersweet that literally the most popular thing I've ever done on YouTube is bitch about Starfield. um, And yeah, I mean, and that blows anything else I've done on this particular YouTube channel out of the water. Uh, Keep in mind the bar. I mean, the channel literally started with me playing a 1979 board game on tabletop sim. So bar's low. Just say that. Don't pat yourselves on the back. The bar is low, but thank you. But thank you. Now, having said that, I don't want this to become the bitching about Starfield channel, keeping in mind that I'm going to be bitching about Starfield here in 1 minute, but um, sort of. But we will move on. This largely comes to so there's a couple things. One is that so in the comments there's a couple of comments that were made, and I've seen this elsewhere. And the argument is the reason why Starfield is bad is because Bethesda's game design is outdated. And I thought about that. I said, yeah, that makes sense. No, it doesn't make sense. I don't think that's true, actually. I don't think their game design is any more or less outdated than a lot of games out there. I think that Starfield, if you just look at the design, if you have no interest in the technology underneath it at all, and with one caveat, and we'll talk about that at the end. If you don't look at any of the if you don't care about the technology, and I don't, it could be written in anything. It could be written in Ada, or a main. We could it could be a mainframe character terminal game, and I don't care. Uh, the fact that they used the creation engine 2 or whatever as opposed to a new engine does not bother me. As a player of the game, what I am looking at when someone tells me, "Oh, their game is outdated," is I'm looking at um, my character, skills, progression, stats, if there are stats. I'm looking at the combat system. In this case, the gunplay, probably. I didn't do melee. Why do melee? It's a gun game for crying out loud. What are we doing melee for? In this case, the guns, right? The weapons, the guns, the itemization, the item progression, along with the character progression, and sort of how that all goes together. And then I'm looking at the quests, the not necessarily the story. Strangely enough, I actually don't think that the story matters as much in there's two types of RPGs in the world. I mean, there's a lot, but ones where the story matters and ones where the story does not matter. And Skyrim, Starfield, Bethesda RPGs, the story does not matter. It might be good or it might be bad, but I don't know that it matters in terms of, oh, this is high quality writing or this is shit writing. I don't know that that matters. What matters isn't that as much as how do I interact with the quest system? How does the quest system guide me to action? How does the quest system reward me? How does right? What am I doing in the game? Minute to minute, hour to hour, and is that compelling or not? Those are the things that I look for in an RPG, in a Bethesda RPG primarily. And when you say that's outdated, then we got to look at those pieces and go, well, what is this outdated? And let's look at the character. I mean, the super short is I really don't think any of those parts in and of themselves are outdated. None of them are. So the character system is a cross between sort of a Skyrim and a Fallout 4. There's 5 trees, right? Five tier skill perk lists. Excuse me, 5 perk lists. Right. Every level you get a perk point. You dump it in one of these perks. There's 4 levels per. And there's no stat requirement, unlike in Fallout. And there is instead an achievement requirement. Oh, to get perk level 2, you need to kill 20 dudes. To do the ship thing, you need to make 10 jumps all overloaded or something, right? There's little in-game achievements, we'll put that in air quotes, in-game tasks you have to complete a certain amount of times to be eligible for the next perk, and then when you level up, you can buy the perk. That's all that's state of the art. That's not outdated. That is pretty state of the art game design. Now, whether you think it's good or bad, I don't know that it matters. But it's not 1990 JRPG. You don't even get to pick a class. You're just a character, and then that character's stats go up randomly, right? Oh, you have an attack stat, a defense stat, um, a special attack and a special defense, and then when you level up, oh, I got 2 of this and 1 of this. Good, there you go. That's it. I mean, it's not that game, right? It's not. It is pretty standard for what you would see today in a game that is perk based, and I think it actually, as if you just laid that out, it's fine. If you just said to me, "This is what I'm going to do, man. What do you think?" I'd be like, "Okay, that's cool." In fact, when I saw this, and I'll bet a lot of folks that played Starfield, when they saw this perk system on someone's video, right? They weren't engaging with it. But when they just saw it, they thought, that's pretty cool. I like that. There's a lot of perks. I'm into that. I could probably make a cool build going in this tree a little bit, in this tree a little bit. And I like the fact you have to do a thing in game to get it. I think all that stuff is actually exciting. I think as an elevator pitch design, I think it works out great, actually. Um, in practice, the execution is not quite as good as the elevator pitch. A lot of perks are sort of trash, or they're negated by a quest reward, or or they just don't work, or they don't work well in game based on other things, right? Like all of these social perks that you got. Oh, I can now manipulate characters, and you go, yeah, dude, in a gunfight, me having to go to this other to click a button and go to this other sort of sub menu to go and intimidate them or to manipulate them, I could have just shot that guy. Done. Problem is solved. I think in execution, it falls short. As a design, on the whiteboard, it's fine. So I don't think that part is outdated as a game design. Looking at the combat and the guns, and again, I look at that and I go, well, keep in mind, I am playing New Vegas right now, no vets as a shooter. That's a little rough. Like that is bad gunplay. Now, it's actually okay. I think the mod list that I'm using sort of tightens it up quite a bit, and that's great. But you can still see a couple times where you're like, man, that aim is off, or that doesn't quite work as I expected it to work, and so be it. Fallout 3's gunplay, crappy. Fallout 4's gunplay, better. Starfield's gunplay, passable. It is decent enough. You could play a game with this as the gunplay and not be upset. So I give the combat not outdated. I give that part of it. It's fine. The guns themselves, the actual tools. I mean, it's a standard prefix mod suffix system, right? You have a this type of gun, and then you have sort of a level prefix, a refined this type of gun, or a lead, right? And that prefix says, oh, this is level 20 or something, so it's better than the crappier one. And then a bunch of, I call them suffixes, right? As you affix mods to it, and you go, well, this also armor pierces and blah blah, right? And I mean, that's pretty standard stuff. That's any looter shooter. If you came to me with a looter shooter, the elevator pitch, you probably came to me with that set of specs and said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do, so the guns, I don't have the specifics yet, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do sort of a prefix suffix kind of thing. You can have up to 4 mods on a gun. The prefix will be like the level, right? And so on. And there'll be gold tier and blue tier and green tier, all that, right? Purple tier guns. It's state of the art. Is it good? Is it bad? I'm not actually arguing that as much as I'm just saying I don't think that is outdated. Is the execution great? No. Is it sort of dull? Yes. Can you easily find a gun that will last you most of the game? And you maybe, right? Depending. The actual itemization and the loot tables and how that loot is placed and is it interesting? That's execution. It's not that the design is outdated. The design is pretty stock standard. Character skills and guns in combat. I could I could point to 50 Steam games right now that have exactly that same thing. Is it innovative? No, not necessarily. Does it have to be? No. It's not outdated. Finally, the quests. Now, I think that the quests are by far the worst, most egregiously bad part of Starfield's badness. Most egregiously bad part of the badness. Think about that as a sentence. Um, but you cannot come to me with that quest system and go, well, see, it's outdated. I'd be like, dude, every game has this quest system. You open up Baldur's Gate quest log, and it's not some revelation. It is go here and do this thing. Now, Baldur's Gate, I did open the quest log actually, just to make sure I wasn't totally delusional. I opened my quest log from a game. Now, Baldur's Gate's a little more loosey goosey with it. It's like, hey, this isn't going to be safe for these tieflings unless you clear the road of goblins. Get to it. And that's fine. Um, or, hey, this guy might have gone to Baldur's Gate. Maybe you should go look for him. But it's still, right? How does the game compel you to action? Starfield is very much more handholdy. It's, oh, here's your quest. Do this. Oh, you did that. Now do this other thing. Okay, you did that. Now do this other thing, right? And it leads you by the hand with the quest marker. So be it. But there's a lot of games that do that. It's not outdated. It might be bad, but it's not outdated. So I don't like that particular critique because I think it misses the point in order to give us a clever reason why we think something is bad, right? Oh, it's outdated. It's very 1900s quest design or whatever. I just don't think that particular critique makes a great deal of sense in my head. And maybe there's other people that have better reasons and they can shoot me down and that's all fine and good. And I'm wrong a lot. So I would take that. But I don't think that any part that I care about of the game itself is outdated. But again, I can't argue that it's any good. The quest system has the problem. Well, let's talk about that. That's a good point. That I haven't made yet. That's a good point. Let's talk about that for a second because this is the one place where I feel where the idea that the game might be outdated actually starts to maybe impinge on stuff we're talking about. And I don't know this. This is all very speculative. I am talking out of my butt here. Absolutely 100%. Let's keep that in mind. But from an outside perspective, looking at how the quests are and what they seem to have been trying to do versus what they accomplished, it does smell to me that maybe there is an engine limitation on how quests are defined and how dialogues are represented and defined that might get in the way of making Starfield's quest system good. In that sense, I would go maybe the outdatedness of the something like a creation engine hurts them. Let me explain. And again, this doesn't mean that any of this is true. It just means that if I were to guess from an outsider's perspective, this is what I've got. So it seems to me that having watched the video of, hey, create a dialogue in the creation engine and create a quest in the creation engine, or when I look at how you fix a quest in the game with the console, it's a pretty linear set of stages, which I'm sure can get rather complicated based on it's just like, back when you were programming BASIC on your old Apple IIs. Not that any, I'm sure a couple old guys are like, yeah, yeah, and everybody else is like, what the hell is he talking about? But you had line numbers for your code, and you had 10, 20, 30, but you could jump around with sort of go tos and so on. And the set stages in Skyrim feel the same way. You can go to stage 10, then stage 20, then stage 30. Maybe we skip stage 40 and go straight to stage 60, 70, 80. Oh, 200's done, kind of thing. And just the way that those dialogues are strung together, it does strike me that one possibility. So let's say that the quest designer Sally over here says, "Oh man, I got this great thing. So we're going to chase down this lead for the Freestar Collective. We're going to chase down this lead about mercenaries taking over a farm. And ultimately, where that's going to lead us is it's going to lead us all the way to this billionaire governor, Ron Hope, who runs one of the biggest corporations. And in the end, you're going to have to choose to save him or shoot him. And so if you choose to shoot him, then in theory, that has ramifications across the entirety of the game universe. And so I can see so I can see the memo, like quest giver Sally goes, "Hey, I have a quest where you can kill Ron Hope. Can you guys adjust all of your dialogues and all of your quest set stages to account for this? Because it should affect everyone in the goddamn universe." And it just seems to me, given what I have seen, that man, that would be very hard to do. Like that sounds like a manual process that you would have to have a bunch of people go in and go, okay, well, what if Ron Hope is dead? Then what do I have to do to all these characters' dialogue? Or what do I have to do when you go back to the Rangers? What does that mean? And is there a like? I can't almost. I look at again what I know about that quest system and go, I don't know how you make wide-ranging quests that change the scope of the world. I don't know how many dialogue trees would you have to touch to make any of that make sense. And that's only one quest. What about the one where you kill Delgado as opposed to not kill him? Or what about the one where you side with the pirates? Or like, if you're a pirate, how does that change every quest in the game? And so I do wonder if that outdated sort of system causes the ultimate failure in the design, the quest design, where none of the quests have any consequence. So in that sense, I will say, okay, that does make sense, and maybe the outdated argument has a little bit going for it. Otherwise, though, in a lot of the things I care about, I don't say it's outdated. I just think it's a bad execution of that design. I think the elevator pitch and the whiteboard sketch looks a lot better in theory than it does in practice. In practice, yeah, the guns are uninteresting, and in practice, the character skills sort of suck. And if you want to do crafting, you're stuck into these 20. And I think it's a bad execution of a state of a state of the art. And when I say state of the art, I don't mean super sexy, cutting edge. I literally mean state of the art. Like everyone's doing this, could be doing this right now. I think it's a bad execution of a normal design. And the quest is the only place where I wonder, but I don't know enough. And maybe a modder can come and tell me, oh, you know what? What you said doesn't make any sense. Your speculation totally off. And I don't know. Maybe not. Anyway, I think that's sort of where I'm at. The too long didn't watch is, guys, it's not outdated. It's just bad. So, all right. Thank you very much for listening to that rant. We will rant about other things that aren't Starfield in the future, and maybe we'll play a game or two on the channel. I don't know. Maybe. Talk to you later. Bye bye.